Welcome to the Honest Media. I'm Tom Pappert, and today is Thursday, December 15th, 2016. We've got a variety of topics we're going to talk about today. It's kind of a loose show in that we're actually having some fun after last week's extremely serious and kind of depressing topic of Pizzagate. We're going to talk about, really, it's a great show. I hope you'll watch the entire thing. But I want to start by again discussing fake news and who is perpetuating the idea of fake news. But not only that, fake news is just an example. It's a way for them to point at anybody who doesn't have the CNN stamp of approval and say, you are not legitimate. Your sources are bad, your journalism is impure, you're lying, you're evil, etc., etc., etc. Whatever they have to do to discredit us, and to discredit us, which is exactly what they're doing to discredit Trump, because the alternative media defends Trump when the mainstream media lies about him. And I just have to get it out there. This is not going to change. This is what we're going to see throughout the next 8 years. Any and everything they can do to discredit the guy who won the election, to discredit the president, currently president-elect of the United States. So it all started right after November 8th. The next morning, we're all celebrating, and we start seeing these ridiculous headlines. Donald Trump has lost the popular vote by greater margin than any U.S. president, from The Independent. And then we all have to get distracted. We all get bogged down in the mud. We say, well, you do realize the popular vote isn't a thing in the United States, right? We don't judge by the popular vote. We never have. Because if we did, New York and California, specifically 2 cities in California, along with maybe Houston, they would decide the fate of the country, which not really fair to the other millions and millions of people in the country. Donald Trump himself came out and said, okay, you people realize if we did rule by the popular vote, I would have just sat in Texas for 2 years and I would have got a much higher vote than Hillary Clinton. So it's kind of like if you're playing a game of chess and you play the entire game and you're finally got your opponent in check, you're about to win, and then they say, well, you see, I have more pieces on the board, right? I have more pieces on the board. So in that way, you can see that really I'm the winner because I have more pieces remaining. You can't just change the rules after the game is done, in other words. So we dealt with this ridiculous popular vote thing. What happened next? The recount. Jill Stein was going to somehow make millions of votes, hundreds of thousands, sometimes only tens of thousands of votes, switch. And this was what the leftists were going to have happen. And this is what everybody was getting on board with. We saw Hillary Clinton's campaign members herself come out and say they're going to support this in any way possible. And what came from that? You know, everybody said this recount, the Russian hackers, etc., etc., etc. More on Russia in a minute. But this is just one state. The results of the Wisconsin recount were finalized Monday, reaffirming Donald Trump's victory in the traditionally blue state, from thehill.com. The Associated Press reported Monday afternoon that Trump actually picked up 162 additional votes, keeping his margin of victory around 22,000 over Hillary Clinton. And of course, they never talk about the states that Trump won by a small margin. They only talk about the states where Hillary won by a small margin. They don't want to do anything that can help actually make Trump's presidency look legitimate. This is all a way to make him, if they're going to recount the election, then something must be wrong with the election, right? Well, then something must be wrong with Trump. Trump did something wrong. Which leads us, of course, to the alleged Russia connections, where people who, from my understanding, are only speaking on conditions of anonymity to the media. These government officials from top security agencies, the CIA, comes out and behind closed doors, and only behind closed doors, says, oh yeah, Trump was totally in bed with Russia. Putin did this election. It was all Putin. Putin hacked the Democrats and then gave it to WikiLeaks. And they hacked the Republicans, but then they didn't give it to WikiLeaks. And even that, we actually have no proof they hacked the Republicans. This is all in one story. Everything I just said is the dumbed-down version of what the New York Times tried to present as a factual, unbiased article to prove that Donald Trump is controlled by the Russians somehow. So that's their latest example. Trump is a Russian operative. You know, last I heard, I thought the left liked Russia, but that's what they're saying, that Trump is a Russian operative. He's working with Russia. He's working for Russia. And that is the latest piece of real fake news. Real fake news. Now, on the topic of fake news, the Senate recently did something. And if this gets signed into office, we're going to have a real problem. This is from Zero Hedge. Senate quietly passes the Countering Disinformation and Propaganda Act. While we wait to see if and when the Senate will pass and President will sign Bill H.R. 6393, Intelligence Authorization Act for fiscal year 2017, which was passed by the House at the end of November with an overwhelming majority, and seeks to crack down on covert intelligence carried out in coordination with or at the behest of political leaders or the security services of the Russian Federation. And the role of the Russian Federation has been hidden or not acknowledged publicly. In other words, we're going to have our own Ministry of Truth in the United States that is going to decide what journalists, what institutions, what politicians are fair and get to be heard. They're going to be able to say that shows like this, which may not be your primary source of news, so imagine your favorite alternative news outlet, whether it's Breitbart, whether it's InfoWars, whether it's one of the more obscure publications featured on Drudge Report. Think of your favorite alternative news outlet. Now think of the media being able to say, with their friends and the government backing them up 100%, that is fake news. And that is where we're going. That's the next step. To anybody who tries to defend Trump, they're lying, they're fake news, they don't get to print, they don't get to have video, they don't get to be on YouTube. Take them down, remove their advertisers, destroy their revenue stream, they're fake news. And we can already see this happening. This is why Breitbart is fighting back so hard against people like BMW and Kellogg's, the people who make the breakfast cereal. Because that's how it starts. You pull your ad dollars. This is what the left does. The left always goes after your income. And we're very lucky in a situation here on the Honest Media where we're also checking some government boxes. But typically, if this program wasn't making money, we'd have to pull the plug instantly. And if the government comes after us, they come after our broadcast home on Great Plains Television and say that we're creating fake news and threaten some kind of legal action, we're not going to have a lot of choices except to stop broadcasting. So this is where they're going. This is why Alex Jones is freaking out. I think in a Trump administration, we'll probably be safe. He knows who his allies are. He knows the alternative media, the real media, the honest media. He knows that people like me, people like this program, are the ones who fought back against the dishonest liars in the mainstream media and helped him get elected. People like Alex Jones, Roger Stones, Matt Drudge, the powerhouses who made this happen, they're not going to be taken down this easily by the left when the left is almost out of office. When I come back, I'll be here with Craig Chrysler, and we're going to get started in a really fantastic discussion about some of the implications of this. We also get off in some news of the day, the apparent attacker at the Trump Tower. Just lots of great stuff. I hope you'll stay tuned. We're the Honest Media, and I'll be right back with Craig Chrysler after the break. Welcome to the Honest Media. I'm back now with Craig Chrysler, and so that is the plan. You know, they're going to continue to do anything they can to discredit Trump, to make him look bad, and I guess we could talk a little bit more about this Russia thing, even though you're sick of it.
Yeah. If I hear the word Russia one more time from the mainstream media, I'm just going to move there, I think.
They're making it look like a great place to live, though. Constantly talking about it, it's like the Streisand effect, or what should now just be called the Trump effect. The more bad coverage a place gets, or a person gets, the more popular they're going to be. They're turning us all into secret Russia-phobe.
They're acting like it's 1950 or something. I mean, we didn't hear anything about Russia since the Cold War, and all of a sudden now they're the world's greatest threat when their economy's in shambles. They're really not doing much of nothing, and China's sitting over there ready to take over the world.
Well, and this is from, you mentioned that we haven't heard about Russia for decades. The only time we heard about Russia was from everybody's favorite loser, Mitt Romney, in 2012, who I've got an article from the Federalist right now that's 5 times the liberals mocked Mitt Romney for warning about Russia. Obama replays sick middle school burn. Clinton, it's so last season to be concerned about Russia. Joe Biden, it may be a gaffe. I would know, talking about Mitt Romney, talking about Russia. John Kerry, bro, have you seen Rocky Balboa? MSNBC, Russia is our BFF.
Yeah.
You've got all these people, all the liberals criticizing Mitt Romney for talking about Russia. Trump wins, a conservative who doesn't hate Russia gets in, and all of a sudden the left hates Russia.
Yeah. Yeah, for the past 15, 20 years, I thought we were good friends with the Russians, and now all of a sudden that Hillary lost, I guess they have to find their new boogeyman of the month.
And it can't be any of last year's boogeyman.
Yeah.
It can't be ISIS, because then Trump will just point out how they funded ISIS.
They wore out Iran, and they wore out North Korea, you know. Whenever there wasn't something going on in the world, oh, North Korea's a threat now. Next month, oh, now it's Iran. Now it's Russia.
Yeah, well, and I think Russia has got to just, I have a theory about this that a couple people have talked about and made popular. But Russia used to be, the left used to love Russia, right? When it was the Soviet Union of Russia and all the other member states. But people used to love it back then because then it was showing the world that communism could work and Marxist just hadn't been tried. And then as soon as it all came crumbling down and it was revealed how horrible the conditions inside the Soviet Union were, well, then they can't like Russia anymore because then it failed. And now Russia is probably more capitalist than the United States. So now they hate Russia.
That's why they don't like them, because Russia today is what America was in 1960.
Or at least something a lot closer.
Yeah.
At least something a lot closer.
They got a really strong Christian base. People are smart with their money. They got values. I mean, it's literally like 1960 America is what they're doing over there right now.
I guess they've even got the rioters, the people whose name, I guess we could say that on national television thanks to Trump, well, with the grabbing, but yeah, that's their countercultural movement. Yeah. Hopefully they can do what Nixon couldn't do and stomp out the dirty hippies.
Yeah.
But it's so hypocritical for the left, and it really is just the next step. I'm eager to see what's next. What is it? Trump is China's plant. What can they advance to from this?
Well, he ain't gonna be able to play that because he's the only person that's had.
He's a Taiwan's plant.
Yeah.
That's
Trump's
what they'll
literally
say.
the only guy with, if I can say it on TV, balls big enough to call out China. Everybody in Hollywood and on these late night shows literally can't say a word about China because literally all these stations and movies producing companies are owned by China, and they're not allowed to say one negative word about it.
Well, they have people who are Thais. I mean, you can look at the 6 old guys who are in charge of most terrestrial media out there, and they all depend on China because they use broadcasting in some cases, in many cases,
China literally
to cover,
limits what they can say.
Well, only if they want their businesses to continue to be lucrative. Because one guy's, Rupert Murdoch is in Australia. One guy's in Germany, which, might as well be Germanistan at this point.
Yeah.
But you can look at all the different people, and they all have international business ties. That's one of the reasons why media sucks so bad nowadays, because they think that they have to compete in this global audience and go to the lowest common denominator.
Well, like when they remade Red Dawn, the movie, it was supposed to come out with the Chinese invading, and the Chinese government made them change everything in that movie, and it took an extra 2 years to come out so they could put it as the North Koreans invading instead of
Really?
the Chinese. Yeah, that's how much control they have over Hollywood.
Wow, you're not kidding. This is the LA Times. Let's just read some of this. Real China. Hollywood tries to stay on China's good time. Without Beijing uttering a critical word, MGM is changing the villains in its Red Dawn remake from Chinese to North Korean. It's all about maintaining access to the Asian superpowers' lucrative box office. So see, it's a money thing. They think, and why on earth? This makes, I get there's billions and billions of Chinese people, right? But why is a movie made in the United States, why do they think we have to sell it in China? That's what makes me mad.
From what
and
I
that's
know,
why
the
no
Chinese
entertainment
own
can be
the
good.
6 biggest production companies there are right now.
Well, see, I know just from my personal experience, I don't know if that's true specifically, but let's see what the LA Times, last people I would expect to report on this, by the way, let's see what the LA Times said. When MGM decided a few years ago to remake Red Dawn, a 1984 Cold War drama about a bunch of American farm kids repelling a Soviet invasion.
One of the best movies ever, by the way.
So they needed new villains, is basically what happened. And they were so afraid of the Chinese box office not letting them in because, you know, freedom of speech isn't really a thing in China, for those who don't know.
They censor everything. Facebook,
absolutely,
Twitter,
everything.
the whole internet's censored.
And on one hand, you can understand why they do it. I mean,
they're communist.
Well, and think of all the propaganda they would be getting from the United States. I mean, their paradigm would fall.
Supposedly they have
in 6
thousands
weeks.
of riots a day in China. That goes unreported.
Well, with billions of them, I mean, how would anybody know?
Yeah.
And you know, you hear people who come to the United States and you're like, so what do you think about the Tiananmen Square massacre? And they're like, the what? Because they don't know about it. Those videos were smuggled out of the country, not onto television stations within the country. Today, China is far more important to the Hollywood studios, despite the government's policy of allowing only about 20 non-Chinese films into theaters each year. In 2010, China was the 5th biggest box office market outside the United States, with $1.5 billion in revenue. Mint, who met with the producers of Red Dawn to offer some suggestions on how they could proceed, said that doing business in China requires a partnership approach. The more you reach out, the better your relationships will be. This is bigger than a single film. So basically what they're saying is if they had done this, they never would have been allowed to have another film in China.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, for MGM, that's one of the biggest production movie making people out there.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be devastating for them apparently. But I think that we should just come up with a policy of maybe it doesn't need to be in China. Maybe figure out how to sell twice as many tickets in the United States. I don't know.
How about dump China altogether? Can't we make our own stupid plastic drink umbrellas and all the crap they make here?
Well, you know, Apple says they're exploring coming back to the United States thanks to Trump.
That's because they're all jumping off buildings to their death in China.
Literally. Well, no, yeah, we shouldn't laugh. It's completely true. The suicide nets are real, and it's because they would be working 17-hour days, and eventually you just short circuit and go run it. Yeah, and so now they net it all off. So if they jump, they've got this nice friendly net to fall into. Okay, we'll be right back. This is The Honest Media. We'll be right back. I didn't think we'd be talking about Red Dawn in China, but here we are. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back to The Honest Media. I'm Tom Papper here with my good friend Craig Chrysler, and something funny happened, you know. And this is the InfoWars title in it, and it's written by a friend of mine named Dan Lyman, and he's getting better at this clickbait stuff. It's from Infowars.com. Pro-Trump rebel artist terrorizes Hollywood SJWs at Rogue One premiere. And what he did is he made somebody, I don't know if it's the anonymous artist who did this, but there's posters of the Rogue One mock-up with Rogue W-O-N, and it's a picture of Trump and his cabinet. And so the Rogue One. And so he put these poster type advertisements all over park benches, on telephone booths, phone booths, all this type of stuff. Little signs. So as these social justice liberals, these upper echelon of the Hollywood elite go to watch their premiere, they have to be walking by Trump's face about a dozen times.
Nice.
I can only imagine.
They probably were crying during, probably took them 20, 30 minutes of cry time to get.
They probably got so triggered they had to go back and cry in their car for a minute and compose themselves.
They had to go to the cry room.
They were literally shaking.
Yeah.
You notice these people are always literally shaking? That's what they say. I was literally shaking. I was so scared. And this is all part of, and by the way, it starred Milo Yiannopoulos, Ann Coulter, Sean Hannity, Steve Bannon, and Julian Assange.
Oh, that's a great cast.
And this is all part of the larger hashtag Dump Star Wars campaign that is picking up because it's being revealed that at least 2 of the writers of the film are social justice warriors and rabid anti-Trumpers, and that's Chris Weitz and Gary Whitta. Which On one hand, Hollywood social justice, who would have thought about that, especially now that they're owned by Disney, right?
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, it's like this is like $1 billion franchise, probably worth more than that. I have no
Yeah.
idea off the top of my head. You would think they would be a little bit more discriminating about not alienating half the country.
It's Hollywood. I mean, these people obviously don't care anymore.
Well, now there is that. But they should. We're in the majority now. I guess
Yeah.
not with the popular vote. They
Yeah.
all think the popular vote is somehow important. But you've got,
Yeah, we know he won the popular vote.
well, yeah, sure. By the time
For some reason, they let illegal immigrants vote, which is illegal.
they just don't ask for ID.
Yeah.
You know, that's racist. One of the
Gotta have ID
unforeseen-
to buy cigarettes.
You know, as libertarian, I don't know if I'm a libertarian anymore or not. I've been talking about Trump for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
But as a libertarian type person, we always talk about the unintended effects, the unintended consequences, right? Well, Jill Stein is going to get us voter ID laws in Wisconsin.
Oh, well, that's awesome.
Because now they're saying, oh my God, Trump's so corrupt. We got to get voter ID laws so the Republicans can't do what the Democrats have been doing.
I don't understand these states on how they wouldn't. I mean, just show your driver's license. That's it.
I know, and they make Chris Kobach, who I still have hope is going to be in that administration somehow. They make him sound like he's so evil for wanting basic voter ID.
Yeah.
And then they say, no, Mr. Kobach, you can't have voter ID. You cannot do that. So he says, okay, fine, only for the local ballots.
Jeez.
Keep your federal stuff. And they won't even let him have that.
If
And they,
you're too irresponsible to go get an ID,
Well,
even
what
if it's
are
not a
they
driver's license,
saying?
just a state ID, you shouldn't be allowed to vote.
what did they say? They say it hurts black people and Hispanics.
Yeah, because they can't find the.
I was
they
going to
can't
say,
find where to get an
it's
ID.
so insulting. Do they
Yeah.
think blacks are so dumb they don't know where
Yeah.
the DMV is? That's insulting.
I can't remember. Somebody actually went out.
Mark
on
Dice.
The, yeah, went
he
out
went
on the
out.
street.
I think it was Mark. I may be misquoting
yeah,
that.
I don't know if it
but
was
but he
him.
went out on the street, and that's what he did. He went to Harlem. He went to the blackest part of New York, and he said, "So do you know where the DMV is? Yeah, it's up 2 blocks to the left." Like, it is so insulting to
Yeah.
assume that this massive swath of people are too dumb to know how to get a voter, especially when half it's on the internet nowadays.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're
And
not,
most of them are illegal, so they probably can't even get one. And I think they do issue in a lot of states issue IDs to illegal immigrants.
well, I know they
which-
do in California because that
Yeah.
was one of the loopholes, and that was a joke. Is how do you vote in California? Well, just show your driver's license.
Yeah.
How do you get a driver's license? Oh, just show up at a DMV.
Yeah.
Because they think it's more important to have everybody licensed and in the system, whether you're legal or not.
It's like the only
it's
thing
totally
that's
bonkers.
illegal that doesn't matter. Like, let me drunk drive and go home and get away with it and get pulled over. Ah, it don't matter.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
But these people, back to the Hollywood thing. You've got these producers and writers of this next Star Wars, where they're tweeting. Do you remember the paper? Is that what it is? No, the safety pin, the safety pin.
No, I don't.
You missed out on the
I
safety
missed out
pin.
on the safety
Aw.
pin.
Well, for those who don't know, when Trump was elected, the left were just shocked, and they wanted to show their solidarity with Hispanics and African Americans and Muslims all across the country. So they put safety pins on their shirts. And then later the whole thing was pretty much revealed to be a 4chan prank where they trolled all these people into looking like idiots with little safety pins on. But so that they all took it seriously and they ran with it. So they've all got safety pins on, and he's tweeting these disgusting. It's like, I think it's the Rebel logo for the Star Wars franchise. Shows how much I know. And he's got the safety pin through it. He's a writer for the movie. So yeah, I wonder why these people are boycotting.
Disappointing. When the original Star Wars movies were all about really saving the Republic, and
Yeah.
it was a secret message in all them original movies.
Well, I mean, just put Soros next to. I know Soros was much younger back then, but put him next to Palpatine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not insane.
Uh-huh.
So this is just brand new. I just spotted it a second ago here. From the New York Post, student arrested after bringing weapons into Trump Tower. A 19-year-old college student was arrested after entering Trump Tower with weapons and fireworks. Police sources said Tuesday. Alexander Wang was busted after strolling into the heavily guarded building at 721 Fifth Avenue at about 6:35 on Monday, the sources said. When the Secret Service agents checked his backpack, they found a large knife, handcuffs, a water pistol, M100 firecracker, and a Garrett, sources said. It wasn't clear what the Garrett, a weapon used to strangle a person, was made
Oh
of.
my God.
This is the next bonkers part. I always walk with them. He said when asked why he had the items, the source said. Oh, I'm not going to be able to say this. Wang, who is from upstate Pequak, was arrested and charged with 2 counts of criminal possession in the 4th degree and unlawful. Why was he in Trump Tower with fireworks?
Handcuffs, a knife, a strangling device.
Like, is he from the Goodfellas or the Godfather or what? What's he doing with the Garrett wire? Is it piano wire? What? That's confusing.
Well,
I would
the
just
guy's
love
apparently an idiot if he thought he's actually going to get up there with
then
any
the
of
Trump
that
Tower.
crap. Yeah.
It's like the guy who scaled the tower all over again. These people are just
When he wasn't
nuts.
even there.
Yeah, when he wasn't even there. These people are totally nuts. What is going on here? Alexander.
Well,
but I guarantee you this won't be
on his
covered.
life, unfortunately.
Well, that's true, but I guarantee you this won't be covered at all. But we're going to be hearing about the Pizzagate guy who stormed into the pizza parlor with a gun. That's going to be heard about for years. Never going to hear about this. What's with the water pistol, though? That's the confusing. Okay, we got to take a break. We'll be right back. Was it full, I wonder, or was it empty? Okay, we'll be right back after the break. I'm Tom Pappert for The Honest Media. We'll be right back. Welcome back to The Honest Media. Still Tom Pappert, still with Craig Chrysler. So what do we hear about? What's one of the major criticisms of Russia we hear all the time? Thinking about people like us.
That they rigged the election? I don't know.
That they murder journalists.
Oh.
That they assassinate
I
journalists.
actually haven't even heard that.
Oh, that's what they say about Putin. That's what they've been saying about Putin for years. And it's all unproven. It's like this country has totally changed. It used to be innocent until proven guilty. Now it's guilty until vindicated by the
saying
media.
he murdered journalists like Abraham Lincoln actually did, which nobody talks
Well, I was
about.
he indefinitely detained because he just suspended habeas corpus so he could do that.
Yeah.
Well, this is
Worst president ever, by the way.
You don't get worse than Jimmy Carter and Obama. I'm sorry, you can kill 200 million people and you won't get worse than Jimmy Carter and Obama. They've done more to the dead.
This is for another show.
But this is real. This is happening right now. You remember a few months ago now, Turkey had the what do they call it? The coup, the revolution.
Maybe the fake coup.
I was going to say a lot of people think it's a false flag,
Yeah.
and the leader just did it because since doing it, he's ousted a bunch of people who were critical of him in the military.
Yeah, killed a ton.
He's killed a bunch of
ousted
people.
them and took over.
So a lot of
complete
people,
control.
think it was a false flag.
Yeah.
And that there's no proof, but this just came out of Yahoo News. Turkey, not Russia, that's my emphasis, Turkey leads rise in journalist detentions. Meaning Turkey, our great ally, who is apparently helping us in Syria with Assad. Who even knows anymore at this point, right? It's all, unless you're there, unless you got somebody posting it on Twitter, you just don't know. Yeah. But Turkey is the country where they are detaining journalists.
The ISIS safe haven.
Yeah. Where we have, according to Putin at least, according to Russia, we have satellite evidence showing trucks, with oil going from ISIS-controlled territories into Turkey, where they probably sell it to the rest of the world. We're probably driving our vehicles on ISIS's oil right now.
Yeah.
It drives
and
me
they're
up the
brand new
wall.
Toyotas.
Hey, those aren't brand new. You hear about that poor plumber? We talk about this on the show before? I don't remember. There is a plumber in Oklahoma whose truck, he just sold it. Just sold his truck when he got a new one. Gave it to the used dealer. The used dealership probably took it to the auction where they just sold it as is with the decals and everything on it. Somehow this truck ended up in the hands of ISIS and in one of their propaganda videos. And this, I swear it was like a plumber. Maybe it was a general contractor, but he's from Oklahoma or Texas. And the guy's getting death threats. How dare you sell your truck to ISIS? He's like, I didn't do it. So the moral of the story is rip off your own decals before you sell anything.
Yeah,
because it might just be driven by ISIS in a propaganda video.
Yeah.
But back to Turkey. From the AFP, the number of journalists detained worldwide rose in 2016, an increase related to Turkey, where more than 100 journalists and media contributors are in jail, Reporters Without Borders said Tuesday. And there are a total, according to these people, of 348 journalists detained worldwide. 100 are in Turkey. A third of them are in Turkey, our great ally who we can't dare criticize.
Yeah, I mean, what the heck? what's to even say? It's obviously a rogue nation with a crazy man running the place that's supporting ISIS, which is really who's fighting Assad, that Obama's been funding the whole time. Why Putin went in there and blew them all up, and that's why we don't like Russia.
Oh, yeah. Well, God forbid we let Russia have... I mean, we've got this massive sphere of influence as the United States. God forbid we just let Russia do something, because we've done such a great job bringing peace and stability to the world.
How dare Russia kill the terrorists?
Well, and just back to what we said at the beginning of the segment, this is a recurring criticism of Russia and Putin, as he has journalists who disagree with him murdered in the streets. These people are literally hauling journalists off the street.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like scary stuff. This is Hillary Clinton's America type stuff going on. This is what we feared would happen.
I wonder how much money we send the government of Turkey every year. I bet it's a lot.
You know, let's find out, because that's a good point.
You know what I'd like to see done, which would help this country out, which Ron Paul talked about a lot? Dump all this foreign aid. We're sending out billions, if not trillions a year in foreign aid to countries.
Well, and the argument, and I don't know if it's a good one, but the argument is that it's really such a small drop in the pot of government spending. But what it really does, this is, again, it's the law of unintended consequences, is Turkey gets this money from us. It doesn't go to the people. It gets it goes to how do you say his name? Erdogan, who spends it on his military, which he is using to detain journalists. I mean, it's totally counterproductive here.
Yeah, it always is. A lot of these countries came out and said that we don't even want your money. It just makes the country worse.
So this is, I'm just reading this from the Middle East Institute. A recent public opinion poll conducted by Ipsos suggests that the Turkish public is supportive of foreign aid, thinking that they should be spending foreign aid. So these people are, what we're learning here, Turkey doesn't do foreign aid. We do foreign aid to Turkey, but they don't do it back to anyone else in the world. Interesting. Here we go. This is what we really want. Let's see if we can't spell Turkey right. Turkey receives, let's see, is that in billions or trillions? Whew, millions of dollars. So let's go back down to Turkey. We've got $3,033,000,000. That can't be right.
Probably is. The amount of money we spend on foreign aid is outrageous.
That cannot be right. Oh, it's gone down a little bit. That was 2012, and then in 2013, it's down by about $500 million.
Yeah.
That's way more money than anybody said. No wonder Ron Paul was talking about it 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, that's hideous.
It is.
How are you spending that much money? Where are the results?
We're just giving it away to all
Where
these
are the
countries.
results? You'd think we'd be getting something in exchange. I don't know. Maybe we're getting cheap ISIS oil. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe that's gas.
You know, for the amount of money we give out in foreign aid, they're talking about all these healthcare problems. Crap, you could give everybody a house and food and free healthcare for the
then you'd run into different problems. But how about you repair these highways that are crumbling across this country, or the airports that Trump talks about, where you land
build
and
homeless
you're
shelters.
bumping down. Yeah, how about focus on our homeless people?
Yeah, drug rehabilitation centers, places for crazy people.
I bet we actually fight the cartels instead of just make the drugs illegal and fight in that way.
We could just blow all them guys up from space, literally.
That would take $1 billion. Oh my God, that's insane. What are these people? No wonder Trump talks about waste, fraud, and abuse. I think we just stumbled across all of it. And I'm not smart enough to say there's no place for foreign aid, but why are we giving foreign aid to Cuba? Why are we giving foreign aid to any of these places? Why are we giving foreign aid? Okay, so it's negative with China. Does that mean they're sending us money? That's weird.
Well, yeah, they actually,
I mean, they buy our treasury bonds and that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe that counts. But why are we sending money to all these places? Brazil's about as good as us. Why are they getting money? That's unsettling. Egypt, Ethiopia, Fiji, Haiti. Well, Haiti is probably the only place that deserves it after what's been done to them by the
goes to all the warlords.
No, that's
and then they got more money to buy guns that hack people's private parts off and literally.
Yeah. Well, women.
Yeah.
You want to be horrified. You know, there's a growing debate in this country about routine infant male circumcision in Africa and a lot of these Middle Eastern countries that we openly criticize on this show. They still practice routine female circumcision.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we can't say that on TV, what it actually entails, but Google image that and you will immediately lose your lunch. All right,
I think we could say it, but Yeah.
Probably.
It's a medical word.
That's a good point. They cut it off. We'll just leave it
So
at
they
that.
can't have experience sexual pleasure.
Yeah,
so they won't.
can't. Right, so they don't have an orgasm, which is just. I don't even think it works that way. All right, we'll be right back after the break. This is The Honest Media. Welcome back to The Honest Media. It's fascinating to me to watch all these people come around to bend the knee after saying these disgusting things for months and months and months. This is from CNBC. Bill Gates says Trump has the opportunity to be like JFK, and I'm taking that in a good way. He has the opportunity to be like JFK. And he says a lot of his message about where he sees things not as good as he'd like. And he says, he's got all this room to improve. But in the same way Kennedy talked about the space mission and got the country behind that, I think whether it's education or stopping epidemics or in this energy space, there can be a very upbeat message that Trump's administration is going to organize things, get rid of regulatory barriers, and have American leadership through innovation. They apparently spoke on the phone here recently.
No.
And so, we both have our qualms with the guy for what he does. I think it's misguided, to put it at the least, in Africa and elsewhere. But it's interesting to see all these people come around and bend the knee. And we were talking about in the break, Kanye West is another example of the first pop mainstream leftist culture icon to break with the herd and come out and say, yeah, I would have voted for him. Now the guy kind of was, he in the middle of a concert where you pay thousands of dollars to get into a Kanye concert, instead of singing, he goes on like a 45-minute diatribe about Trump. So that's a little weird. What's really weird is that then they hauled him off to the loony bin for like 2 weeks.
Supposedly, yeah.
And then this week, he met with Trump at Trump Tower.
Yeah.
Somebody joked online, don't worry, Kanye, Trump will protect you.
That's probably why I went there looking for some... literally.
And what were you saying in the break? I don't know if this is true or not, but what were you saying in the
break?
Well,
I heard that he's wanting to leave the Kardashians, and supposedly he went to some of them spirit dinners, which we talked about, the Pizzagate thing, the spirit dinners, and apparently was mortified by it and wants away from all that. And
which, we know that the Kardashians, with all the people we've seen in the pictures, I'm amazed we haven't seen.
If I went to a spirit dinner, hell, I'd have a mental breakdown too, probably.
We wonder why the guy's so weird. Well, and he did, there was this thing a while back of Kanye saying he will never smile on camera after his mother's death, I think that's what the gist was. And then in the Smile with Trump, he's got this big blank-eating grin. I just thought that was funny, the power of Trump. But this is just support what you're saying.
Kanye is a businessman. You got to give it to him. The guy who's made tons of money.
He's a bad businessman. Didn't he lose all his money? But this is from October. This is from October 28th of this year. Kim Kardashian divorce. Kanye West allegedly ignores wife during post-robbery trauma. For those who don't know, because I'm totally sure this isn't related to insurance. She was at the hotel in France, and a jewel thief came in and took all the West family's jewels, the West Kardashian family, because jewel thieves still exist in the current year. So because I think this all happened. Let's search Kanye lost money, because I'm pretty sure he lost his money here recently. Yeah, he lost $53 million. He's $53 million in debt. So
that's what happens. You hook up with the Kardashians. He better get out before he gets his nuts chopped off.
That's
literally.
That's the very next step. That's the very next step where things.
Now he's running to Daddy Trump to look for some guidance. Apparently,
he's got to go back to a real alpha male. How do you do it? You live with all these women. Well, Kanye, I don't pick the crazy ones. But it's back to what we were saying. It's just fascinating to watch all these leftist icons, these left Hollywood icons, crawl out of the woodwork. And now that Trump is in, say, yeah, by the way, I always liked that guy. You guys are idiots. I think it's showing that if they're comfortable enough to do this, Kanye West doesn't really seem like a person who cares about what other people think of him. I don't know if that's true or not. But the fact that he feels secure enough to do this and he can still have fans show up at his concerts, and I think, in my humble opinion, that we're slowly winning the culture war.
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say, that's a pretty big... That's a pretty big step for him to come out and do that.
Because this time last year, it was like, my God, conservatives were still anathema. We were still literally Hitler.
Yeah.
And now you've got Kanye. It's going to be a lot harder to say we're all Hitler when you've got Kanye West coming out, who is the pop. In the left, you did this to leftist media. They hold this guy up and say, Kanye West, one of the pinnacles of black culture, and now he supports Trump. It'd be like, next thing you know, Beyonce is going to come out and say, well, you know, Melania is really a beautiful woman.
Not.
Oh, yeah,
Beyonce and Jay-Z can...
That would sour me on the whole movement. I mean, well, they're seen at the spirit dinners, aren't they?
Well, they're openly, whatever, if you want to say Illuminati affiliated or worshipers or whatever.
Well, there we go. Jay-Z and Lady Gaga is seen with spirit cooking author Maria Abramovic. Whew, I can't say names this morning, but
Russian names.
Yeah, really. We're all scared of the Russians, but then you've got Maria Abramovic. I have no idea if she's Russian or not. Who does this weird spirit cooking stuff. That's not the type of Russian we're scared of, though. Yeah. That's the good type of Russian. I have no idea if she's Russian or not. So, yeah, and whether or not it's Illuminati or New World Order or just globalist or just creepy, weird things that people at the top do. Some of this reminds me, the more I think about it, of like in ancient Rome. You would get the upper echelons who would just, I'm saying that a lot, upper echelons, but you get the elites, I guess because it sounds more a highbrow than elites, who would just gorge themselves in the name of their wine god and then throw up and then they'd eat a bunch more. And I'm sure the regular people, Caligula, that's what it is. It's Caligula-esque decadence that you only see in the falling stages of any major power. Yeah. That's what I see when I look at this now.
Well, that's what's been happening in this country for quite a while now. And
well,
it was joked long ago by somebody that it was going to take Putin to save the West. And if they really did hack all them emails and release them, thank you, Putin. You really did save the America.
There you go. We're the Russian we are the Russian hackers sitting in the basement doing our hacking. I don't know anything about hacking. But well, and that's just such a phony thing. It's like we talked about in the first segment. You know, there's evidence showing it was Seth Rich who leaked the emails, or there's people who suggested it's Seth Rich. The guy who got killed in the most mysterious robbery ever, where nothing was stolen, and he was basically shot execution style, and the police won't move forward.
And Julian Assange offered a reward,
$20,000 reward, and people say that dude, in his nonverbal behavior, he was confirming that he was basically doing this. When they were asking, could Seth Rich have been involved? He's, I don't know. Perhaps he could be.
You know, there's a really great website out there talking about the Clinton crimes. What is that one?
Well, which one are we thinking?
The Clinton Crimes Spree?
ClintonCrimespree.com? I don't know. I might have heard of that once or twice before. It needs to be updated, really. Because even now that they're out of power, it's still kind of continued. But all of this bizarre stuff, so that's a good point. We're okay with Maria Abramovic, but we're not okay with that.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like Trump said many months ago, I don't know if it is the Russians, but if it is, I hope you leak the rest of them because you will be greatly rewarded by the media. Now look at this. They are being greatly rewarded by the media, whether it was them or not, because I swear my new MO is whenever the media says something, just immediately believe the opposite.
Yeah.
So when they say Russia's bad, I'm like, you know, I don't know, it must be all right then.
Yeah, that's been my MO for years. Whatever they say, believe the exact opposite, and it's probably the truth. And
people were saying I was wrong all throughout this election. We got to go to a break. But it was like after the primaries when they were wrong about Trump, I would joke. I'm like, you know, whatever they say about the polls in the general, whatever they say about Trump, I'm believing the opposite.
Well, they were wrong. They were straight up lying is what they were doing.
That's still wrong. You're telling 180 degrees opposite from the truth. That's still So yeah, I believe the opposite of whatever they say, and it worked out. You know, I was losing faith in my own thing. But if I just kept faith that they're telling the opposite of the truth the entire election, I would have been sleeping a lot better there towards the end. Those first few nights in November. All right, we got to take a break. We'll be right back. This is The Honest Media. Welcome back to The Honest Media, and thank you, as always, for joining us this week. We're going to begin our final segment with something from the Washington Examiner. Now, I want to preface this with this to be unprecedented for the media, by the way. This is totally unprecedented. Press encouraged to turn up heat on Trump. with so much favorable coverage they've been giving him, why now? Why now would they turn up the heat?
Yeah.
The national press is renewing its call for even more scrutiny of the incoming Trump administration and is cheering on reporters who challenge President-elect Trump and his team.
Yeah. Like the self-propelled stomach Michael Moore coming out and vaguely making a death threat on TV.
Yeah.
Seriously, the guy did.
What did he say? I
He
heard
said,
about
he
this,
said
but I didn't
something.
hear what he
He's
said.
like, nobody can thought what would happen. So he's not the president yet. So something could happen before he
that's
gets
right.
the president. He might not be it.
That's right. And
That's a veiled death threat.
or
Sending out a message for somebody to kill him.
well, there's all this programming.
Where's the Secret Service at his house questioning him? That's what
I used to say it was all crazy, but I believe it 100%. There's all this programming that happens. Like when the guy rushed the stage months and months and months ago at a Trump rally, what did the media do? They had him on. They interviewed this guy. They're encouraging the type of behavior
Shouldn't he be in an interview room with
the police detective?
Yeah.
Well, then the next day, the FBI arrested him.
Oh, they finally got around to it.
Yeah, like 2 days later.
Yeah.
The guy knew who the guy was. But
Good job, FBI.
Right,
CIA.
and it may not have been yet, but it was some security
Like we're
agency.
supposed to believe they're bogus reports that Russia did it when they
Well, they won't even come out with a name.
Yeah.
Who speaks from a government agency on conditions of privacy? Whenever I have a I'm new at
And
this
who was
stuff,
the
folks.
shooter, the bomber, and the guy's wife they just let disappear?
Oh yeah,
Great job, FBI.
The Orlando
gonna
guy. She
send you
just
some more money.
wandered off, and Attorney General Lynch just told us, well, what we need to do is heal in this country.
Yeah.
We can't focus on
We
this.
don't know what happened to her.
I want to focus on this.
Yeah.
She could be out there planning out, but okay. So Washington Examiner. This all goes back to, believe it or not, Pizzagate, because everything goes back to Pizzagate right now. So Washington Examiner, Tapper on Monday, New York Times media columnist Jim Ruttenberg. Wonder if he has parentheses on Twitter or not. Praised CNN's Jake Tapper for a recent interview in which he pressed Vice President-elect Mike Pence on whether he knew that General Mike Flynn, an advisor to Trump, had sought security clearance for his adult son. Flynn's son, and just listen to how the Washington Examiner writes this. Flynn's son had used social media to spread a false conspiracy theory involving Hillary Clinton. So, when it's something about Trump, we say he raped a 12-year-old girl. No evidence.
Yeah.
The only person who would have known about it, the alleged victim, wouldn't come out and testify, wouldn't talk to the media, wouldn't do anything, dropped the charges. Meanwhile, you get all this creepy code language in the emails. You get people who have pedophilic paintings in their restaurants, in their homes. They've been collecting these things for 30 years now. You've got all these coincidences that just point in a certain direction that is very similar to the British pedophilia ring.
Yeah.
So when Trump, no, that's serious. With all this evidence, it's a conspiracy theory that's proven totally false, even just because I said it. I said it, therefore it's proven. This is...
Well, it's the Washington Examiner, the Washington Post, whatever. They're all crap.
And except to each other. And that's what I think
Yeah.
this tells us, is the only people... and that's how they open the article. Journalists are praising other journalists who have the gall to take on Trump.
Yeah.
You notice they're not talking about the reader. They're not talking about the viewer. And if you go, and this is one of my favorite things to do now that I've stumbled onto, is go into the New York Times comments section and just look at them get destroyed by the people who are mad at them. LOL, because they talk about fake news. It's so important to have real news now. That's what the Washington Post likes to say. And you just click on the comments, people are like, really? You? Real news? Oh, that's rich.
Yeah.
That's just rich. So I just thought that was interesting.
Real news. Iraq has weapons of mass destruction.
That's right.
Yeah.
Let's go kill 1.5 million Iraqis because we definitely know they're there.
Yeah, probably way more. Now the death toll from all that starting is in the who knows how many millions.
Well, that's
tens
just
and
counting the
20s.
people who have actually died. That's not talking about the people who with the depleted uranium.
Yeah, well, I'm
shells.
talking about all the other countries around it now.
Oh, well, that too.
Because, well, we invaded that country and this country. Let's go get about 5 other more.
And the ensuing void that has let ISIS come up, where they're murdering Christians and Yazidi people in the streets and have sex slavery for the first time in a half a millennium. And all this
taken
sort of
over Europe, basically.
all brought to
Sweden.
you by fake news.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Fake news started the decline of the West.
Yeah.
Way to go, New York Times. Way to go, Washington Post. Way to go, Washington Examiner. That's a very valid point. Their propaganda matrix, their propaganda machine that we know was legalized formally just here recently, that's what's leading to the decline and fall of the West. But don't worry, guys. Don't worry, because they're going to figure out how to fix this. They're going to turn up the heat on Trump, and that's magically going to fix all their problems.
NDAA was one of the worst bills ever passed.
Well, and what was really bad about it is they what do they call that? Pork rolling? Is that what you call it? See, I don't know all the government terms, but they put it in there where you can't.
Yeah.
Either the military, we're going to have all millions of troops, I imagine. I don't know how many troops we've got, but all these troops all throughout the world. Can you imagine how bad this would be if you were one of the elite? Aren't going to get their paycheck. What happens then?
So
what
then
happens
they
when
snuck in? They made America a war zone, which got rid of everybody's constitutional rights. Which right now,
within certain it's specific.
if they decide you don't
and
have
it's
any,
dumb. And it's like within 200. Well, but then they don't use it when they need to. Like, okay, one of the things
they could kidnap
we
you.
We were
take
big
you to a
libertarians
secret
4 years ago.
site. Yeah.
One of the things is if you are within like 200 yards of a Secret Service personnel, then you can be taken off the street and imprisoned, right? Well, what about the Trump protesters? What about these people who are, and you're not allowed to use your phone, you're not allowed to do all this stuff. So it's not about, it's about protecting themselves. This isn't unilateral, and so long as you're smart and strategic, and this is why I'm okay with it now, because so long as you're smart and strategic, it's never going to bother you unless you're doing it to Obama.
Yeah.
I mean, you have, and we don't need that anyway. We don't need to show up with signs. As we're seeing from the Trump protesters, that doesn't work. Memes and news programs like this work 1,000 times better than those anti-Trump protests ever will. And if we had, Pepe, shouted in a rally, hopefully then you don't get it. Then you might run into the problem of being put into a shoebox, and then you might run into the problem. But just don't worry, folks. The media is going to do the right thing. They're going to be harsh on Trump. Just like they were with Hillary Clinton. Just like when she had allergies and then she overheated and then she got pneumonia. Remember all that hardcore coverage of them hounding her for answers on what was going on? Just like that.
Her one campaign stop every other week.
Her 520 some odd days without a press conference. Those are the hard questions we can expect the media to now extend to Trump.
Well, she was the New World Order puppet pick they wanted, and boy, did that turn out bad for them.
But they're crashing and burning, and that's what I want the takeaway to be from this. That's what I think the takeaway is from this, is the media is writing for the media at this point. They're writing for each other. They're sending it to their friends. They're probably all getting high fives and other weird things that I don't want to talk about, probably spirit cooking related. They're all shaking hands and saying, look, my boss is Carl, or Jeff Bezos. He's going to be really happy. Oh, well, my boss is Carlos Slim. He'll be really happy. They don't care about their reader. They're not pushing good information out. And
it's a globalist agenda.
That's right. And I think that their popularity is greatly waning. I want to give you the last word for a change.
Well, yeah, they're done. You can see it all around the world. The EU's breaking apart. Hopefully, all these countries want to leave that. We just got Trump elected. It's the upturn for globalism ending, hopefully.
There you go.
And the return to sovereign nations deciding their own fate.
The second rise of the West. All right. This has been a good episode. I hope you enjoyed it. It's much more lighthearted than last week, where I'm sorry you had to sit with me without Craig and listen to Pizzagate for almost a full hour. We'll be back next week. As always, you can visit us on thehonestmedia.com. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, and we're on Twitter. We'll be back next week.